All right. Hello. Be a little patient with me here. Everybody knows how great Sam is at hosting. I'm not going to do as well as Sam, that's for sure, but I'm going to do my best. That was an awesome win. The Knicks just beat the Lakers 114 to 109. There's actually a ton to talk about, which I've got to be honest, a lot of times we come up here and it just feels like we talk about the same things over and over again. And it's like, fuck, it feels like we're manufacturing conversations, but I feel like different rotations, different vibes. There's going to be a lot to talk about. So before we get into it, I'm just going to read the ad read super quick so that we can nonstop talk Knicks the rest of the way. All the major sports are in action this week with the college football playoffs ready to kick off. BetOnline is your number one destination for all of your sports wagering info, including news for pro football, the NBA, upcoming fights, and NHL games this season. Head to the website today to get the action and see all the updated odds for this week. Remember to use the promo code BLEAV, BLEAV, all capitals, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts, but it does not end for our very own Samuel, because we know he's out there on the streets grinding the gambling streets. All right, Tyrese. I know I usually can't shut the fuck up, but I'm in the Sam chair tonight, so I'm going to lean on you more. This was a wonderful game for you. Everyone knows where your allegiances lie, who your favorites are. Not only the Knicks, probably the foremost Julius Randle fan. This was, as far as I'm concerned, an amazing game for you. What were your overall thoughts on this victory?
I never lose. I never lose. And at some point, people will actually start to believe me, but I never lose. I think you have to start with Brunson, doing Brunson things. I think clearly all NBA at this point in the season right now. Um, the guy has just been incredible. Like, he's shooting probably 46% from three on the season, which is nuts. Like, we are a quarter of the way into the season. He's shooting 46%. I remember you posted about Brunson's 3-point regression coming, and I'm like, are we sure it's going to regress the way we think it's going to regress? Like, he shot 42% last year. He's probably going to shoot around like 44 to 45% this year, which again is nuts. I think right now you could argue he's probably one of the 5 best shooters in the league right now, probably even higher. Like, the difficulty of the shots he's making, the volume at which he's making them and taking them. Like, if he's not in the 3-point contest, at least there's a problem. But also, just like he's legitimately one of the best shooters in the league, and he has been there for the last 2 years. He also hit his free throws tonight. Thank God, because he's sub 80% of the season, so hopefully that's a little bit better. But yeah, great game from Brunson. Really carried us on down the stretch. He scored, I think, 11 points in the fourth quarter. So, like, that's what he does. That's what they brought him in for. And again, he'll be an all-star this year. All-star voting opens up tomorrow, so get on that if you can. He deserves to start. He deserves to make it. Point blank period. He deserves to start, but he deserves to make it more than anything. I mean, Julius Big Jew, 30 in the rafters. 30 in the rafters, 30 in my heart. I mean, like, he has legitimately been one of the best offensive players in the league for the last month. Like Nick Sape says here, his last 10 games, 27.3 points, 9.7 rebounds, 5.36, 66 true shooting. That'll do. That'll do. I felt like he was very inspired defensively tonight. I think he got up for this game, especially because it was Braun, X team. I felt that his closeouts were mostly there. He had a couple hand down, man down closeouts, which like I'm kind of used to at this point. But great game from him on both sides. Very much controlled. The flow of this game, I mean, they were minus 12 in the minutes that he sat, and he sat for 5 minutes. And it was essentially that end of the second quarter the end of the second quarter where they lost a 12-point lead. He sat, they lost the lead. He came back in, they built up the lead to double digits twice. So great game from him. I think this is probably the best stretch of his career, I want to say. Just as an offensive decision maker, as an offensive hub. And it's vastly different from his like hot shooting starts or like the games where he just goes nuclear with 5 threes in the first quarter. It just kind of feels like he is consistently going against all NBA caliber players and is giving these kind of performances. And I think it changes his floor so dramatically because he's willing to get so deep into the paint. This is probably the deepest he's played in the paint since his first year. But like the fact that he's able to be so proficient at it, and the fact that he's able to make the team better in ways that he wasn't able to do that first year makes it so appealing as a offensive floor, especially for like playoff basketball. I mean, because at this point the question is, can he do it in the playoffs? This feels like the most sustainable version of Julius Randle, and it's the least jump shot reliant he's been in his career since like New Orleans. So
I will say, even with the newfound like shot mapping, and like you said, he's operating deeper in the post than we've ever seen him. Look, it's a small sample size, but we saw him get tight again down the stretch when it got close. I really do feel like the Lakers were able to lock in, and I mean, not just late in the game, but basically the entire second half, take away what made him so dominant in the first half. Again, I'm not trying to rain on the parade. I'm just saying it's something to watch out for in terms of projecting forward for a potential playoff series. Julius has to be ready for something like that. And to your point, I would have led with Julius. I think he was the first story. Honestly, I think Isaiah Hartenstein was the second story. But the reason you lead with Brunson is because even in a game when Julius Randle is kind of just the best player on the court, when the game gets close at the end, I mean, Brunson wasn't even the best point guard on the Knicks for the first 42 minutes of that game. Like Quickly pretty decisively outplayed Brunson when you consider both ends of the court. But then you remember, I mean, Quickly can't come close to doing what Brunson can do when the game gets tight and you just need a bucket. And he just took that game over. And that's what makes him so important on not a team like this, but any team. There are finite NBA players who can do what Jalen Brunson just did against a very solid defense in the Lakers. And not just like solid in terms of the personnel that they have, but when you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis on your team, it's going to be intelligent. They're going to know the spots you want to get to, and they're going to anticipate that, and they're going to try and take it away. And Jalen Brunson just had a counterpunch every single time. That little jab step he did to Cam Reddish with the quick cross to create space going right was just an absolute thing of beauty. His bag is so deep and he's so crafty. He has a counterpunch to every single thing people throw at you. And look, you can't say that he was out there playing 1-on-5 because he had that absolutely gorgeous cross-court dime to set up a three that Quickly had. Like, he needed to make that, and he missed it. And look, it was a fine shot, went in and out. That's fine. And then the Lakers adjust. The Knicks do the smart thing. They're sending RJ Barrett as the screener to get Reeves as the matchup for Brunson. The Lakers decide to blitz, and Brunson makes the right play. How often do we hear that? Make the right play. He makes the right play, finds RJ Barrett, gets him an empty gym three, and RJ doesn't make it. Under different circumstances, Brunson's assist numbers are higher tonight. I thought he was just marvelous down the stretch. But let's talk a little bit about Isaiah Hartenstein. I think he deserves it. I think it's hard as a big man to play the type of minutes that Tibbs asked him to play tonight. And not only did he deliver with just effort, I mean, let's take a quick gander at the box score. He had, I know it's something absurd. He had 9 points, 17 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and he was second on the team in plus 15.
And 7 offensive rebounds.
All of that across 39 minutes. He was just outstanding. He was awesome. I think it's pretty clear he just needs to start with Mitch out. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but it's unreasonable to give him the 2021 Derrick Rose rotation. It's one thing to ask a point guard to do that. It's another thing to ask Isaiah Hartenstein to play multiple 15-plus minute stretches a night consecutively across, 6 to 8 more weeks. I think you get him in there with the starters. You let him play against the other starters. You give him multiple shifts per half and give him just the Mitchell Robinson role right now. And whether it's Jericho Sims or Taj Gibson, you play your worst center against backups. Obviously, if it was me, I'm going small some of the time and letting Randall, like tonight, when Anthony Davis is sitting, you can have Randall against LeBron and hide a smaller guy on Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes, he's not hurting you. And if he starts to attack the offensive glass, then you go to the center. It's okay. You don't have to just do one thing and stick with it. What did you think of Hartenstein tonight, Tyrese?
I thought he was incredible. I think having him play against the front court like LeBron and AD, especially given the minutes load that he was playing, he just was able to battle, and he was able to keep us alive in moments where we needed it. That might have been probably his best game as a pro. I mean, he played 21 minutes tonight in the second half, and every single one of those minutes was necessary. There were plus 11 in his minutes. There were -5 in the 3 minutes that he sat. So you can kind of tell of how vital he was to this team winning. It was just Herculean effort from him. I think that's the best way to put it. He had to do so much for this team, and he had to be so versatile, both offensively and defensively for this team, and he was able to do it. So that's credit to him. Again, the 7 offensive rebounds really tell the story of how much he was able to impact this game. I can't say much more about him. He did everything he could ask of and more, and they don't win without him.
They definitely don't win it without him. I think Nick Tape makes another really good point here. He says, huge to go 2-2 on this trip, even better that the wins were against very good teams. The Knicks go on the road and beat the Suns and the Lakers, 2 teams who have title aspirations. And I think that's important to remember because at the start of this trip, they lost. The Knicks lost to the Jazz, and that was the first sky is falling moment of the season. I mean, most of y'all were probably right there with us when Schwinn was screaming to the heavens about what was happening, and he honestly wasn't wrong to be upset about that loss. That's a loss that shouldn't happen. But a good thing about a Tom Thibodeau coach team is that when you have a high floor, you can match bad losses with some good wins like this because you're more likely than not to show up each night you play. Obviously, there are also pitfalls of a Tom Thibodeau coach team, but tonight's not the night to talk about those. I don't think there are many macro takeaways from this game. The one I can think of is the rotation change. Quickly ended up playing 29 minutes, but that was about as many as DiVincenzo and Grimes played combined. Hart was down to 22 minutes. I don't know if he got hurt or what happened there, but I don't expect Josh Hart to ever play as few minutes as 22 again if he's healthy. RJ played 30. Randall played 43. People have talked about that Tibbs was trying to match his minutes with LeBron. LeBron played 39 minutes tonight, which is wild. Just wild that he's still playing that many minutes. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that tonight's minutes allocation represents kind of not changing of the guard, but kind of a shift in the tides, or do you think it was just Tibbs matching up with a unique opponent?
I honestly don't have an answer. It was such a weird rotation. He played the entire second half. That was 2020, 2021 rotations. I'm honestly not sure what that means long term. I do like the fact that he was playing with the bench. I feel like that bench unit makes a lot more sense with Randall right now. The way he's been playing, giving him the space to operate with Hartenstein, giving him the ability to kind of like kick out to the shooters because that unit is supposed to have the shooters with it. Um, I would explore it more. I think it would be pretty interesting to see how it fares. But yeah, I think it's interesting, but I don't know if it was like matching LeBron. I mean, granted, LeBron played 22 minutes in the second half, so like maybe, but it was such a weird.
If you got speaking of dumb rotations, Tyrese, I don't know if you noticed this, but LeBron gets the current RJ rotation. And what I mean by that is he gets pulled, halfway through the first and the third, and then he starts the second and the fourth quarter with a lot of bench players. Every single time the Lakers are in a close game, Darvin Ham just plays LeBron the entire fourth quarter.
Yep.
So save blowouts and rest nights, LeBron is just playing the final 12 minutes of every single game. That is not a sustainable strategy, and his legs are going to fall off this season. He has to become a 3-shift player, or he has to play like the first 10 minutes and then rest and then close and just be 2 long shifts. He can't be playing, because the thing people talk about all the time, I know this isn't a Lakers pod, so we'll end it here. The fourth quarter, the intensity of the fourth quarter is higher. I'm not saying points count more, but that's not even 12 normal minutes. And I saw it tonight. Like, he was just gassed at the end of the game. And Randall was gassed, and it's why rotations are so important. It's why we harp on them so much here. As far as the Knicks rotations go, my personal belief is that it's getting very hard to ignore like all the evidence. And I don't see anything matchup wise as to why Tibbs would have played Quickly 29 minutes. Like, I know Quickly his shot was falling early. He was 8 for his first 13 before he missed his last couple. But it's not like his defense was super good. He actually got caught on a few screens. He had a couple terrible fouls that gave up and ones, one to Rui Hachimura, one to Austin Reeves. Like, it's nice when Quickly's shot is falling, but this was hardly a peak Emmanuel Quickly performance by any means. I just think that whatever, a couple days off, all the noise, I hope they're starting to figure out that more Emmanuel Quickly is a good thing. And honestly, it seems like they figure it out every single season. I mean, we have that soundbite of me from the other night.
Fourth year in a row we're doing this.
Yeah, it's the fourth year. It's the fourth year in a row, third year in a row. And I said it. I was just like, every single year they seem to have this coming to Jesus moment where they're like, well, shit, we just got to play him, and it's so weird how this happens every season because, I mean, remember last season at this time, the beat writers banded together and were putting him in every trade package. You had every content creator going on, whatever site it was and saying, Quickly won't be here at the trade deadline. He doesn't make sense for this team. We have Jalen Brunson. And then it was just like, oh, wait, this team actually doesn't perform that well unless Quickly's on the court. I think that's something people don't remember about last year's team is like Quickly was the only player whose off-court minutes they lost. And that's why it's always so weird to me when people are like, oh, yeah, well, he plays against bench units and that's why his on-off numbers are so good. Okay, well, why aren't the other bench guys on-off numbers that good? Josh Hart's were too, but he only played, the last 20 games or whatever. So it's different. But Hartenstein, Obi, none of these guys pop off the way Grimes this year, DiVincenzo earlier when he was a bench player. None of these guys pop off the way he does consistently. And I think the Knicks just by force or by pressure, whatever it was, I'm hoping tonight was a realization of that, and it does represent a changing in the tide.
Honestly, I just kind of feel like the Knicks need to just bite the bullet and start them. I would start hard with them. I would just run the best 5-man lineup they have.
That's clearly the 5-man unit that Tibbs trusts the most. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say it's the best. I'm not going to say it's not the best either. But I think we can both agree that that's clearly, if Tibbs had his way, that would be the closing lineup every night.
And I think it makes the most sense. You wish Hart would be a bit better of a shooter, and you wish he'd be a bit more willing. I can't complain about that this year, actually. I think he's been more willing. But like that has the good mix of ball handling that they need, creation that they need, defense that they need, and the ability to give space. And you still get like your really good rebounding with Hart and IQ and Hartenstein. So like I think that's a lineup that just needs to run more, if not start it completely.
That's why you really wish that Tibbs was a little bit less rigid with the positions, because in my opinion, and I know we're giving up a little bit with the rebounding at the small forward position here, but you could make the argument that the highest ceiling lineup this team has is Brunson, Quickly, Grimes, Randall, Mitch, because Grimes at the 3. I don't care what the percentages are. He's going to create that. Nobody's helping off him the way they help off RJ or Hart. So he has peak gravity at the small forward position. He is, by anybody who watches the Knicks, we all agree he's the best point of attack defender. So really, you're trading by preferring Hart to Grimes in that spot. You're trading point of attack defense and much more gravity, and not just gravity, way better shooter for a for a more impactful rebounder. But you'd like to hope that Mitch and Randall would have that covered, especially with Quickly at the 2. It's just too bad that can never happen. Like I wish there was a path for that, because I do think that that's the Knicks' best 5. From a synergy standpoint, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like ultimately speaking, this comes back to the conversation of like IQ and low usage wing is usually the best lineup they can run. But back to the minutes distribution quickly. I mean, played the entire fourth again, so he got to 29 minutes, but it was kind of bullshit how he got there. I do like his first half shift wasn't too bad though. I think he played he played 5 minutes in the first quarter, and then in the second quarter I think he played about 9. So yeah, he played 14 minutes in the first half, which is a good number. Ideally he should be around like 32. So yeah, I think the rotation where like Dante's a spot starter and Quickly's getting the bulk of the minutes there is probably the way to go. And I also think it makes Grimes get minutes at small forward, which is really impactful as well.
By the way, just to add to the point you were making earlier about Randall playing with the bench unit, I mean, part of what you're just saying is that anybody is going to be enhanced by playing with Quickly and Hart against other teams' benches.
We have 4 years of data on this, where it's like when Quickly plays with somebody, they get more efficient, they're better defensively, and they're way more potent offensively. How much more do you need to see?
This season, Hart and Quickly have played 215 minutes with Jalen Brunson, net rating of plus 19.7. They've played 205 minutes, so 10 fewer minutes with Randall, net rating of plus 21.2. Just absolutely demolishing teams when those two play with either Brunson or Randall.
The data's yelling in your face at this point.
And look, let's put a bow on this, because we talk about the minutes every night, and this is supposed to be a night of celebration. But the one thing I don't want to hear from people about this suggestion is, yeah, but we need Quickly coming off the bench. We need him to play with that bench unit. It's 2023, folks. You can stagger. You can stagger people. It's okay. Like Quickly can come out halfway through the first and start the second quarter like he always does. That's a thing. Substitutions are allowed. This isn't soccer. You don't get one.
You can run on that spot.
Right. Even better almost. Yeah, you can do either.
That spot. Yeah.
You have either option. and you can mess around with the substitutions. So any trade-off you get that involves quickly with a higher minute ceiling, you're winning. I don't want to hear about this intangible bullshit of like, oh, how do we get quickly coming to still play with the bench unit? It's like, it's not hard. Anybody who's played NBA 2K knows how to just have a rotation that staggers your best players. It's just insane. Okay, let's get to some better comments because people can inspire. Will Malave, I hope I pronounced that correct. I apologize to you, Will, if I didn't. iHeart has to start. He showed he can play with either group. 32 minutes for iHeart, 8 and 8 for Sims and Gibson. Yes.
I think Sims is in a boot, so yeah. You're gonna get iHeart starting and Taj coming off the bench. And honestly, Taj didn't play too poorly. I didn't think he was horrible. Like I think
he's got rebounds.
Yeah, like he got rebounds. He played good defense. I think he needs game shape, but I think he'll be fine for 16 minutes a night if you need him to.
I'll be curious to see if Randall if they go small at all, because there are going to be nights when iHeart's not going to play this well every night. So if you have a night when iHeart, who's he's a backup center, he could probably start on a few teams, but he's the best backup center in the league. Backup centers struggle all the time, and if you have a night when your options are a struggling iHeart and old Taj, or Julius Randle and your four other players who are way better, I'm sorry, that option just has to be on the table. It does.
I'm surprised we didn't run it tonight again. Like, I think being married to rim protection and rebounding, again, obviously stifles creativity, but it's also like, how many backup centers in the league are so threatening to where like you can't run Julius Randle up to 5? Granted, the defensive deficiencies with him as a rim protector are there. I understand that. But he is a switch defender. His best defense usually comes with him switching. And with him playing the 5, he can switch 1 to 5. So it kind of feels like that would be the best way to handle it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I do agree with you. Just to defend Tibbs slightly, he's not really so much worried about the bigs overpowering Randall. He's way more worried about the stunts, like the Knicks guards missing a stunt or missing a rotation. Mitch is the last line of defense against those guards. That's what it is. Randall offers nothing, no resistance there whatsoever. And Tibbs' nightmare is that exactly. Like, the opponents run a 1-4 pick and roll with Brunson and RJ in the pick and roll, and then you have DiVincenzo and Hart off the ball, and one of them doesn't stunt, and the roller just gets a free dive to the rim, and all that's left there is Julius Randle. And Julius Randle, for all of his strengths, is not a rim protector. So I think that's important to remember. It's not the 90s. He's not like, oh my God, Hakeem is just going to dominate this matchup. Gun to Tibbs' head, he's not afraid of that at all, I'd bet, against most people. In fact, I know you agree with this. I think you could argue that Randall is capable of even guarding like centers like Embiid. Like the refs respect Randall. They're not going to just hunt. They're not going to let Embiid hunt fouls against him, and he's strong and can hold his own. So again, I don't think it's the opposing centers that is the issue. It's the guards getting into the paint in other action, and there being no line of defense.
I think that's fair. Yeah. God, it's just like, I just want to see it because I feel like this offense is already good when they're hitting threes, and I feel like it has another level to reach. But I also feel like this team as a whole has like so much more potential. But that's a coaching issue, but we're not talking about it tonight. It's a good night. So.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I wasn't saying that because I don't think we should see it. I think we should see it too. I just thought that was important to point out. Here you go, Tyrese. Knicks tape shouted you out and said Tyrese gets to shit on RJ and hype up Julius the whole show.
I haven't even talked about it. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
I don't think we have to have the conversation. I don't look. I mean, what's funny is he was 2 of 7 at half, and his first half was worse than that. His 2 baskets were 2 should have been turnovers that just like bounced right to him, and he got empty gym layups out of them. Aside from those 2 fluke layups, he basically offered nothing. That was one of the worst halves he's played all season long.
Which is crazy because he had the Jazz half, and it was like this West Coast trip is just like been horrendous for him.
Yeah. I thought, look, I'll see what you have to say about this, or maybe you'll just laugh at this. I actually thought it was a pretty big deal that despite that, Tibbs closed with him over Hart. And some people mentioned that maybe Josh Hart got hurt, but I mean, Hart came back in after RJ fouled Austin Reeves, which was just terrible. But I actually thought that from when Tibbs put that closing lineup in and Jalen was doing his thing offensively, I actually thought RJ executed his role on both ends of the court fairly well. And the thing I liked the most, there was a possession that stood out to me. It was when RJ was on D'Angelo Russell, and D'Angelo Russell tried to he tried to maneuver around a ball screen, and RJ navigated it really well and contested from the side. And D'Lo missed it off the back rim, and the Knicks ended up getting, I think, a Jalen Brunson basket going the other way.
Yeah.
And what it pointed out to me is that if RJ is going to fit in with that lineup, specifically the trio of Quickly, Brunson, and Randall, he has to do the thing that makes Hart so valuable next to Quickly. And frankly, what I was getting at earlier, what Grimes would do. And that is when he is playing on-ball defense that allows Tibbs to trust him to guard the other team's best player, it inadvertently elevates Quickly's defensive impact, because now Quickly can be quote unquote hid on a weaker option, an off ball option, and he is playing his best role, which is free safety, where he's stunting and he's helping. If Quickly is allowed to play that role where he is basically guard version of Mitch, guard version of Draymond, the Knicks defense is better. And we saw that tonight. We saw that down the stretch with RJ guarding Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. Now, I mentioned the bad foul, but up until that moment, I would say for a 6-7 minute stretch, RJ was doing a really, really good job on the ball. And all of a sudden, you had Quickly all over the place like Tibbs wants him. I think that's a positive synergy that is reflected in the lineup data. It's why the Hart Quickly duo is so elite, because you have Hart on the ball, you have Quickly off the ball. It's just a perfect intersection of positive impact. It allows both to impact simultaneously, and RJ did that tonight. And I think Tibbs saw that, and he saw that, okay, he doesn't have the shot going, but guess what? We're going with Brunson down the stretch here anyways. I don't care who has their shot going. I care who is going to add value when Brunson is doing his thing offensively. And I thought RJ did that for a few minutes. Do you agree with that, or do you just think he was bad the whole time?
No, I agree. I thought his defense was clearly much stronger than his offense. I feel like he guarded D'Lo especially very well. I think he was able to contend with D'Lo's size more than I thought he would. I think D'Lo is pretty shifty, and I feel like RD was able to handle it. If he plays defense like that, it changes a lot for this team defensively. Like you said, Quickly is best as a free safety. Quickly is best when he's able to get a bunch of deflections and use that wingspan and muck up passing lanes and create havoc. And having RJ be able to guard on ball, which is his strength, I don't think anybody's disputing that. Like, RJ's best quality is his on ball defense against bigger wings. If he's able to be that potent, it changes so much for this team. Real quick, I just want to say something. This guy was falling last week, and now the Knicks are fifth, and they're a game and a half back and forth. So, don't you just love living on a game-to-game basis? But
it is wild. I think the sky is falling attitude came more from the it wasn't even the exact record. It was just the sense of, okay, if this team isn't always in the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference, if they're not even a betting favorite to win a playoff series, and guys like Grimes, Quickly, even RJ to some degree are all losing minutes, what the fuck is this season? Like I do think that was more why that attitude was there. But your point is well taken. Like maybe we just need to stop, taking the most extreme reaction, having the most extreme reactions to every single game, and just understanding that there's actually a decent amount of variance game to game, and for the most part, this team is in a good place. I think. I don't know. Is that kind of what you're trying to say?
Yes, the team is in a great place. They're 4 games above 500. Like, the idea that this team was, again, I've seen hysteria. People legitimately thought we weren't going to win until the new year. Do you know how fucking insane you are to think that somehow, some way, the team with 2 All-Stars is not going to win a game until January? Like, you're telling me that we are so much worse than the Suns, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Nets, the Bucks, the Magic, the Thunder, the Pacers. The Pacers just lost to the fucking Wizards. Like, come on. But yeah, the hysteria gets a little bit too crazy sometimes, and I feel like people really need to like understand the fact that like not a lot of teams have 2 stars. The Knicks had 2 stars, and they're playing at the peak of their powers right now. They were always going to be fine. And then they beat the Nets Wednesday. They had a 3-2 road trip, and it looks good on paper, and that's all that kind of matters.
I actually have a bit of a hot take based regarding what you said earlier. Despite the starts, I actually think Julius is going to end up being the lone All-Star again. And I just don't see. So there's 15 spots, and I mean, I can name at least 4 guards who are locks over Brunson already.
I think right now the guards are Halliburton, obviously. Dame. You're looking at Maxey. You're looking at Donovan Mitchell.
And you're looking at Trae Young.
Trae Young's not making it.
Dude.
He didn't make it last year.
I don't care. Trae Young is Trae Young after tonight is tied with Halliburton in EPM. Trae Young is having an unbelievable season. I know Knicks fans don't like him, but he's making the All-Star team over Jalen Brunson. If it keeps up this way.
They're also 10th.
That's fine.
Record always factors into All-Star voting.
I'm just saying that Trae Young being the first All-Star from his team is more likely than Brunson being the second All-Star. If I'll tell you Jalen Brunson's path to making the All-Star team, it's Julius Randle falling off, or I'm not wishing this on him. It's just poor Julius Randle getting hurt. If Julius Randle keeps playing this way, and the East is as light as it is in the front court, Julius Randle is going to make the All-Star team. And then All-Star, the people who decide, the reserves are going to say, do we add a second Nick or do we add a single Hawk? And when they factor in that it's a team's first guy versus another team's second guy, and the guy on the team who doesn't have an All-Star is by most objective measures having a better season, I'm sorry, Trae Young's going to get the nod over Jalen Brunson.
I also think that but it comes up to coaches, and last year we saw it. Coaches don't want to vote in Trae Young.
That's possible.
Definitely a hot take, but I think it's more likely the Knicks get 2 than Brunson misses it entirely. I think because last year the narrative was he shouldn't have missed it in the first place, and now this year he's better, and you're telling me he's going to miss it again. I don't think that happens. But there's one other thing we haven't talked about here, which I know Knicks fans are going to fucking hate this, but whatever. Knicks fans don't really seem to like me anyways, because I don't really take any extreme positions. So I'll just come out and say it. Do you know who leads the Boston Celtics in EPM? Derek White.
Indeed.
There's no way they vote in Derek White. There's no fucking way you can justify voting in Derek White, dude.
First of all, definitely disagree that you can't justify it. The dude is 17th in the NBA in EPM. EPM isn't the all end all be all, but that in and of itself would be the start of a rational justification.
I understand how good he is. I'm not saying Derek White isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you vote in a 16-point per game scorer, I don't care how good he is defensively, that looks fucking horrible. Like, the All-Star game at its core is really, really high scorers around the league who are contributing to winning on their various teams. Derek White doesn't qualify in that category, despite the fact that he is an elite role player. And I will give him the fact that he is probably one of the 5 best role players in the league. But like
he's the best role player in the league, and it's not even close. He's amazing. But your point is well taken. I agree with you. If it was up to me, I would put Brunson in over Derek White. I'm just saying the existence of all these external factors that Brunson has very little control over, and the fact that he is likely going to be the Knicks' second All-Star. Like they're going to be like, okay, are we putting a second Knick on the team? Again, it might be a hot take. I think he's going to end up getting screwed again. And look, as much as that would be a bummer, as much as this would be like a Klay Thompson situation from 2016, where everybody acknowledges that he is playing at an all-star level, but the East is just loaded with guards, I do think that it would drive him in the second half of the season again, and we would get an even better Jalen Brunson. And in a weird way, I'm kind of rooting for it, because I think Brunson would go on a huge fuck you tour.
If they somehow, some way did it twice, I'd be shocked. I cannot wrap my head around the idea of Brunson having an all-star season last year, having the playoff run that he had, being better this year, and then somehow not making it 2 years in a row.
I think that's like, even though it doesn't really have much to do with the impact this season, I do think the whole idea that like most people acknowledge that Brunson should have been an all-star last season, and then he had the postseason he did, I could see him almost being grandfathered in.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think he is grandfathered in. I think the front court in the East is thin, but I also think there's a world where Julius doesn't make it. I think right now you're looking at Embiid, Giannis, Tatum, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're looking at Bam.
Bam will make it.
Is Bam hurt?
Well, no, dude, I gotta say this. I posted about it on Twitter. Rudy Gobert took Bam out of bio tonight and folded him up, and like that was one of the best defensive performances I've ever seen. I think we're gonna look back one day and realize how much we underrated Rudy Gobert. He is unbelievable.
This is the best chance for him to actually like show his defense in the playoffs, given the fact that Minnesota is the land of 10,000 wings. So
yep, the Edwards McDaniels, that's such a good point. The Edwards McDaniels combination is so, and with Conley is their worst wing defender right now. It's just going to be tougher to expose Gobert's weakness in the postseason than it's ever been before. That's such a good point.
Yep.
Okay, but back to bigs. We've got Bam, Embiid, Giannis, Tatum,
Paulo. I think Paulo has a chance.
Yeah, that's a good point. The Magic have to get one.
I mean, they have to get one, but they're also like falling fast. So like
they do, and Randall's been better than Banchero this year.
Yep, yeah, he has been. But I also think that like in a weird way, I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat get to. I think my big thinking point is the Heat might get to.
I wonder if.
I don't think McCall's a factor, but McCall's also a factor.
I was literally about to say him if the Nets got hot. It's funny. You know who's weirdly been good this year, and it's mostly been on offense. But I'm not saying he should be considered for an All-Star, folks. Please don't yell.
Don't say Cam Thomas. Don't say Cam Thomas.
No, I was just gonna say Terry Rozier. He's actually I'm not a Terry Rozier guy at all, but he's actually been pretty sweet.
Has he? Wow, he actually has been good. What the hell?
Yeah, especially since he's playing 36 minutes a game, which is crazy.
Scary Terry.
Yeah, dude, these forwards are just so thin.
Yeah, but
Maybe Scotty Barnes if he somehow keeps up this lucky production.
no.
I shouldn't have said lucky. Sorry, Raptors fans. Please don't kill me in the DMs. If he keeps up this totally sustainable 40% 3-point shooting, that is definitely going to keep happening. Is he still shooting 40% from three?
He's shooting 39%.
Yeah.
I just can't say that. I don't think Scotty's in consideration because like record plays a factor. They're dreadful right now, and it's like if you just want to go off points, rebounds, assists, Randall's beating him.
Yeah,
So
I agree. So we agree. Julius Randle is going to keep playing like this, and he's just going to be an easy all-star.
yeah. I mean, I think he's gonna. I don't know. I just feel like like you said, Brunson got grandfathered in, and I feel like coaches choose the reserves, and I feel like coaches really like Brunson.
Yes,
Like
I agree. Coaches seem to very much like Brunson. He has that it factor. I agree with everything you're saying. And look, as much as I was saying, I do believe that he would, take it out on his opponents if he didn't make the All-Star team, and that could be good for the Knicks. I also think it would be really cool if the Knicks had 2 All-Stars. So obviously I'm rooting for that. I don't want anybody listening to think I'm not rooting for it. I just think that the guards
also,
in the East, the guards in the
East, injury replacement, the way JL's saying, like injury replacement, yeah, I think they both get it anyway. Because somebody's gonna get injured at some point.
Yep, it's another good point. Jordan Bubb, who is always around, always supporting us. We really appreciate it, Jordan. He said, Jalen Brunson is him, IQ is him, and you're reigning 6th man of the year. Let's ignore Brogdon's existence. Fact. Julius playing like an all-NBA player, and Hardenstein played a magnificent game. RJ struggled for 2 games of the season. Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's crazy because, like, I guess I just hold these guys to too high a standard because every single player you mentioned, except for Hardenstein, I want more from. I want quickly to bring the defense he brought in the 4th quarter the entire game. He was a hawk off the ball in that 4th quarter, and he was not great the rest of the game. I want Jalen Brunson to be he's inching closer, but I want him to be more consistent inside the arc the whole game. Julius Randle, I think he can be better down the stretch of games. I think he's still too deliberate. I don't think he's I still don't think he's gotten used to playing off Jalen Brunson. He doesn't seek ways to leverage the attention that Jalen Brunson's getting. He can make cuts. He can flash to the center. He can be the guy who screens for Jalen Brunson. I know some of that's coaching, but I just think Julius Randle can do better down the stretch. What do you think, Tyrese?
I think you saw it in the Milwaukee game, the in-season tournament game, where like Julius did a bunch of stuff off of cuts and off of movement and just like getting to the rim off the ball. I do think there's potential there. I feel like weirdly his effort has been like up and down, but I feel like weirdly his screens have been a lot better. Like, so I would like to see more stuff as like a screen and roll guy, but like there's always a big in the paint, so it's kind of hard to do it. But if they are going to do it with Hardenstein being the starting point guard, I think it's possible. So there's potential there.
One other thing I need Julius Randle to do, when Emmanuel quickly improvises a ghost screen for you and it's effective in what it's trying to do, please leverage the fuck out of it. There were multiple in the first half when Quickly caught his defender off guard, ran and sprinted past with Julius with the ball in his hands, sprinted past Julius's defender, and it forced Quickly's defender to stop for a moment because he wasn't sure if Randle was going to take the space or not. Julius Randle can't just stand there and just watch it happen and do nothing. He has to leverage that. And it's a really good action, and they should use it more. But there's no point in using it more if Julius Randle is never going to do anything with it. So that's another area I think he can improve with the ball in his hands.
Yep. Again, there's just so much untapped potential. I feel like a lot of it just revolves around Quickly minutes. Like, it's been, again, 3 years of they play Quickly more, they win. We literally had December 4th onward. The entire stretch was play Quickly more. Like, that 9-man rotation at its core was literally play quickly more. And they became a playoff team because of it. And now this year, they're going to do the whole, like, we're going to play quickly more thing, and I guarantee they're going to take off. Like, if they play quickly a routine at least 28 minutes a night, they're going to be the 4th seed by the time All-Star break comes around. And I feel very confident saying that because he's that good.
And they'd be there getting through the meat of their schedule.
Yep. And then you're looking at, like, Chicago games in April. So there's clearly, like, a pathway to being a very good regular season team, even better than they are now. So
for sure. K1 DK year 0 said, I don't ever want to hear about bum ass Cam Reddish ever again.
It's Kid Kuro.
It's what?
It's Kid Kuro.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense. I'm not very smart. Sorry, bud.
Yeah, Cam Reddish.
He said, I don't ever want to hear about some bum ass Cam Reddish ever again. Cam Reddish was not very good tonight. He had 4 points on 2 of 9 shooting. He did have 3 steals. I just think that we need to move past this. Every game, and I'm not saying this about the commenter, I'm just saying in general, he's on a different team now. I actually thought Cam Reddish's pregame quote was fine, where he was just like, I'm not on the Knicks anymore. I don't want to talk about it. Who cares? Like, he's not a Knick anymore. Whether he succeeds or not, it has nothing to do with the franchise. I understand that there are a lot of people who need Tibbs to be wrong or need him to be right. I get that. I get that. That's why the two camps are so dug in. But the truth of the matter is we have a decent amount of statistical evidence that Cam Reddish just wasn't a good fit with the Knicks. Like, even when he was playing a lot of minutes, the impact data didn't like what was happening. So who cares? I will say LeBron James is a very, very transparent player. Like, when he's trying to get somebody going, you can just tell. He wanted this to be a big game for Cam. He kept trying to find him, found him with that beautiful pass for the dunk, set him up with a number of threes. They were desperate to win this game with Cam Reddish having a big game so that they could have some soundbite in the post game about how the Knicks gave up on him. So I understand why it's hard for some people to bite their lip, but I just think we have to be the bigger fan base and move on here because whatever, like, who cares?
I do. He stinks. He stinks. Like, why was this even a conversation? Cam Reddish is not a good basketball player. The fact that LeBron James is somehow carrying his carcass of an NBA player to, like, respectability is the fact that LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. It's not because Cam Reddish is somehow good. Like, he's not good. Stop talking about him. Stop bringing him up. He's not good.
That's them's fighting words, Tyrese. It does seem like his impact has been a bit overstated this season.
But then again, he's an in-season tournament champion, and we aren't. So what do we know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I watch a ton of Lakers. It does seem, by my granted novice eye test, it does seem like the defense has been good. But and look, EPM really likes his defense. It has him in the 93rd percentile, plus 1.8. It hates his offense. He is not good. He has been bad offensively. He's in the 19th percentile, which makes him an overall negative, about basically a replacement player overall. So I do agree with the commenter here, Kid Kuro, that we shouldn't hear like the fact that the Knicks are getting dunked on for this when he hasn't even been great this season for the Lakers is very silly. And so I do understand why there are Knicks fans who are like, fuck this, I'm going to push back because this is nonsense.
Every player the Knicks give up on does worse. I feel like at some point that needs to be kind of like noted. Like Cam Reddish Derrick Rose. Yeah, like they usually end up not being as relevant to winning because for all of Tibbs' faults as a decision maker, his ability to evaluate talent is something I've never questioned. Like the one guy you could be like, oh wow, why did Tibbs not play him more is Tyus Jones. And in all the years of him being a coach, if Tyus Jones is your only miss, I think you're doing okay.
I mean, quickly, but
Okay, we're talking about like talents he's let go.
yeah, no, you're right.
And they got better when they acquired Josh Hart. It's not even a conversation anymore.
Chris Bernhard says Tyrese only shows up for post-game shows when RJ stinks and Randall does well. Such a nasty agenda. You deserve Bo Nix and Daniel Jones for a decade.
We're getting Drake May. Fuck you. We're 5th right now. Thank God.
What was your overall level of celebrating when the Giants lost that game on Sunday? Were you tempered?
I was so happy. Cause we got the fake.
Can I ask you something, Tyrese, about football for real quick? Why do you want Drake May and not Daniels?
I mean, I don't care. I mean, I don't think we're going to take Daniels because I know who my owner is, and I know that we don't.
I'll just say this right now, and somebody can end up, I'm sure somebody will bookmark this, or clip it, and I'll end up looking stupid. And look, when you have a volatile opinion like the one I'm about to give, you have to understand there's a range of outcomes, and I could end up being wrong like 70% of the time here. So whatever, I have to be willing to look stupid. I think Daniels should be a better prospect than Drake May. I don't understand how Drake May is considered closer to Caleb Williams than Daniels. None of the tape backs that up to me. I think Caleb Williams is the clear number one, and I would not. I'm a Carolina fan, by the way. I was born in Chapel Hill. I don't see it with Drake May, but that's my opinion.
If they take Jaden Daniels, I would be shocked, which is why I don't think it's going to happen. I'm very convinced they want Drake May. If we end up taking an OT, I'll be upset. Like we do not even yes, we need OT, but like we need quarterback. Yeah. Because I'm tired of seeing this all the damn time. He's not good.
Chris Bernhard says if Brunson doesn't get the All-Star nod this year, then something's wrong. It does suck knowing we don't have the best player on the floor ever, according to Kenny. Oh man, that was.
I mean, like,
yeah,
the 50-point. But like the 50-point game, kind of feel like that was his. Okay, you earned it. You know, like him dropping 50, it being a historic 50, national TV against the Suns. Like, I think it's just gonna be really hard to keep him out. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, that was just really silly. I don't get what he was. I just don't like the fact that you use Paolo Banchero as an example is so strange to me.
I mean, I guess the Magic were like the 2 seed at the time, so like, but even still, like Paolo Banchero, like, he's okay, but he's just light skinned Julius Randle. Like,
yeah, it's funny. I think we have enough evidence that if the Knicks had the Magic's roster, nobody would talk about Magic players the way they do now. Like, there's just, I think, and I said the same thing about the Thunder. Like, I just think that represents or emphasizes the clear bias against the Knicks, both amongst other fan bases and in the media. And this idea that like Banchero is a lock superstar who's not without flaws, it just wouldn't be that way if he was a Knick. Not at all. He'd be getting no attention at all.
I think he's good with the coaches, and I think that's what matters. Like, he's a coach's son, and I feel like the pedigree that he has, and plus the last year he's had, like, I just don't feel like he gets in because of that. And I will not complain. I will be buying a jersey.
Schwinn said Hart's been willing enough to shoot this year. That's generally fine against most matchups.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, at a certain point, the data knows better than what you think. And I mean, I'll look at what the updated data says. Let's see what we got here. But I'd assume that, well, actually, Hart didn't crush tonight. But let's see what we got here. So Hart is plus 8.2 per 100 when he plays, and the Knicks are minus 3.4 per 100 when he sits, one of 3 negatives. So the Knicks are almost 12 points per 100 better when Hart plays when he sits. EPM likes Hart. It's just he's one of those guys. When he's on the court, your team is better, and so I get why Tibbs likes him so much. I get why Tibbs leans on him, but I also get the other side. I get why that frustrates some Knicks fans. It's strange. I see both sides of the equation, but I think as long as Hart is playing small forward with 2 shooters at point guard and shooting guard, and Randall at power forward, I think Hart at the small forward is totally tenable. Pretty much, I think the only untenable Hart lineup combination is Hart and RJ at the 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Would you agree with that, Tyrese? Like, I think any other combination of Hart at the 3 with Randall at power forward, any other combination of point guard and shooting guard, as long as it's Grimes, DiVincenzo, Brunson, or Quickly, some combination of those 4 guys, like, you're just totally fine having Hart on the court. Would you agree with that?
I agree. Yep.
So yeah, I agree with Schwinn. It's close though. Like, I do think Hart still is passing on a few too many, but I mean, look, there's just no way of knowing. There's no way of knowing, like, you're not out there. You don't, like, maybe Hart only likes shooting from certain spots. There's no way of knowing without talking to him what his overall comfort level is in each situation. You just like him to be a bit more comfortable shooting off the catch.
Yeah, and I mean, he's shooting 35% on like 3 attempts per game, which is like good. That's fine. You can live with that.
Larry Israel said Grimes is the best defender until the last 5 minutes when he becomes a basket case. That's pretty interesting. I'm not saying Larry's wrong. I've definitely noticed Grimes is like blunders late in games. Everybody remembers the Bulls game last year. He had, I think, a turnover and 2 missed free throws, and then the Mavericks game, blow a 9-point lead in the last 30 seconds or whatever, and Grimes is the one who tips the ball. That's interesting. I'll have to look out for that defensively. Who knows how much he's going to close this year, but I don't know. What do you think, Tyrese? Is that something you've noticed with Grimes defending late in games?
Not really. No. I mean, I feel like his defense last year was fine. I feel like this year it's still a work in progress, but I feel like he's been getting better. It's just hard to guard LeBron when you're giving up 4 inches and like 100 pounds. So
that was wild that the reaction on Twitter was what it was when RJ got sunned by LeBron. It's like, dude, it's LeBron fucking James. Like, it's okay. It's okay that RJ Barrett is struggling with the mismatch or with the one-on-one matchup of LeBron in the post. It's okay. I'm not sure Hart or anybody would do much better. That's just super tough.
It's the greatest basketball player of all time. It's okay. Oh, this Laurie question is really interesting. Do you guys want Laurie, and what package would you send for him if you do like him here? The Laurie question is fascinating. I want him like bad. I want him bad than most All-Stars.
Like even at the small forward?
Yes. He played small forward for Utah last year at least.
He played a little bit.
I think
he was mostly a power forward, right? Because they had, it's not like they ran it. I mean, let's check how many minutes the trio of Kessler, Olynyk, and who's the other guy? Kessler, Olynyk, and Markkanen played. I can't imagine it was a ton.
I feel like last year he played a lot of small forward. simply due to the fact that it was Vanderbilt starting as well. It was Vanderbilt and it was Kessler.
Okay.
Yeah, and then only 20%, but I feel like he definitely played small forward for Cleveland as well, and Cleveland was like,
yeah, that was his main position.
Yeah, and everybody thought it was weird, but he was like okay defensively. He was what, a -1 defensive box plus minus that year. Honestly, like I just kind of feel at this point, I think he gives you decent defense as a help defender, especially for rim protection. I feel like his shooting is obviously a big positive. I think he also represents like a pivot from Randall if you want one. I just think he's incredibly versatile, and I like the fact that like a tall, big shooter like that on this team would be really helpful. And it's like he'd be replacing RJ in the lineup, and is that really a downgrade? Is kind of my thinking.
Yeah, I think I'm usually, or not usually, I'm just too concerned with like optimizing, and I probably need to change that. That's a flawed way. It's just a flawed way to view life in general. But I feel fairly confident that Markkanen, Randall, and a center would not be the best for any of those players. But maybe I'm wrong. I wouldn't really trust Markkanen guarding opposing small forward. So you think that would be an issue?
I think it would be, but yeah, I don't know. I like Markkanen. I think it would be like okay. I think if we started quickly, it would be okay.
Yeah, I mean,
but it also kind of just seems like you start quickly and everything's okay. So
yeah, no, that's fair.
Plus, like his contract being so cheap, like gives them flexibility to take over the roster more.
Yeah, no,
he only makes like.
I mean, I personally believe that if the Knicks were to look into Markkanen, it would be because they don't see Randall as a long-term option. And I think they do see Randall as a long-term option. So I don't think they'll even investigate that at all.
Yeah, I think ultimately they're going to wait for bigger fish. It kind of seems to be like their MO.
Were you surprised that the Lakers came out defensively tonight the way they did without LeBron or Davis on? Like, I thought it was really cool, and it showed Randall's unique impact that they came out in the second half and their entire defense was like, how the fuck do we make it so he can't get into the paint? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And he still got into the paint, which is hilarious.
Right. But it kind of surprised me that they took so long to do that, because they were basically like baiting Julius. Like, hey, if we give you if you have a matchup advantage where you exploit it, and Julius was like, fuck yes, give me the ball. I'm just going to. And then Tibbs was like, yeah, I'm never taking you out. That was, I mean, obviously for all of us Knicks fans, that was just the coolest thing ever. Just, okay, yeah, sure. Julius just crushed for 20 minutes. I was just surprised that the Lakers didn't really have any adjustment and didn't have any interest in putting LeBron or Davis on him much. Yeah, that was just interesting to me.
Yep.
Jordan Bub says, well, Nets can't stop either Julius or Brunson on Wednesday, but can we mitigate the offense? Dynamo known as Cam Thomas. That's a good question, Jordan.
I don't know. I feel like Cam Thomas is inevitable. I'm also a Cam Thomas believer. So like,
it's also too bad we won't get to see the epic showdown of Nicholas Claxton against Mitchell Robinson, since every Nets fan thinks that's like some equal discussion, which is the weirdest thing ever to me.
Also, low key, Cam Thomas is a sneaky all-star kid.
All right.
For some reason, dude, it makes no sense. No, I'm just playing. But he is putting up 24. His contract is so interesting.
He just doesn't help you in enough ways outside of scoring, you know?
Yeah, like, but I wonder how much his next contract is going to be, because like, will he get Colin Sexton? is my question.
I don't know. Hawkeye, Jeff, I don't know if it's been taken on Twitter, but like how Yankee fans started the hoodie Glaber maybe in 2009, can you change from Frank Barrett to Hoodie Barrett? I've been overdue for a change, honestly, for a long time, because Frank's not a Knick anymore. Rest in peace, the Hornet who broke his tibia or whatever, tibia, whatever the fuck it is.
Tibia.
Yeah, tibia. I should change it to something. I don't know. I don't want to change it to my full name, but we'll find something. Hoodie Barrett's decent first suggestion. Hawkeye, big fan. JL said if Trey isn't voted in as a starter, I don't think he makes it over Brunson. Coaches and players hate Trey. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I didn't consider that at all. That's a really good point. Do you think, Tyrese, that they just don't like how he plays, or is it a character thing, or what am I missing here?
I mean, like he got 2 coaches fired, and I feel like people hold that against him. Especially like the way he would like treating McMillan, and McMillan is like very respected within the coaches association. The way he was like actively not showing at the meetings and stuff like that, I just don't think they like him. I think the flamboyance might annoy them or something. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's not voted in again, especially because like it's hard to be like, okay, Jalen Brunson versus Trae Young, and then look at the fact that Jalen Brunson's team is winning and Trae Young's team is losing, despite the fact they both have quote unquote 2 stars.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Sometimes it is that simple. Again, I hope you're right. My guy Khan said, I would say it looks better for the NBA if White is recognized because it would signal the NBA caring about contributing to wins more than empty calorie stat padding.
Then I need Mitch Robinson to make it every year.
Yeah, no, Mitch is a great example of that. Of course, I agree with this point, Con. I think, well, first of all, it'll be interesting. Like, is Jaylen Brown just going to make it because of the reputation and the contract? Like, is it just going to be a thing where the Celtics, because their record is so good, and the voters are like, well, it can't just be one; it has to be multiple. Like KP is going to be their second All-Star, right? Or what do you think there, Tyrese?
Nah.
No?
Nah, I don't. I think it might be possible that, like, I think Jaylen Brown gets in, but like he would have to be the worst. He would be by far the worst All-Star if he gets selected.
Jaylen Brown getting in over Jalen Brunson would be laughable. It would just prove that they don't look at anything besides points per game, which would just be crazy.
And points per game wouldn't even make any sense because Brunson's averaging 3 more points per game. Jaylen Brown's averaging 22 points per game.
Yeah, but Tyrese, he's doing it on a team that's 20-5 or whatever.
Not because of him?
I agree. I was being facetious.
I know. So I'm just like, if the worst contract in NBA history somehow somebody makes it, I would be disgusted.
Right. White and Porzingis should both make it over him.
Yeah, but I don't think you can justify giving it to White or Porzingis.
Why not Porzingis? Why not Porzingis? Just not enough games, or
not the numbers aren't gaudy enough. I really think that's it. Like it's hard to like have bigs who are averaging like 20 and 10 and then go, yeah, Porzingis is averaging 18 and 6 gets in.
Yeah, I guess honestly, I guess what I'm learning from this discussion is that I'm giving the people who will vote for the All-Star game too much credit.
I mean, like they voted in DeMar DeRozan last year and Drew Holiday.
Dude, I forgot DeRozan was an All-Star last year. Wow, that's brutal. Hey, Holiday probably deserved to get in. I would have to go back and look, but
stop. He gets in this year probably. I don't know. They'll probably figure out a way. His 12 points per game is highly impactful to this team's winning.
Yeah, I'm just now. Whoa, Hawkeye said, Jeff, you are asking the pettiest people from a petty city from pettiness to not be petty. We are what we are. Yeah.
True.
I think it's a good point. And also I'm in my own little echo chamber as a Knicks fan who doesn't live in New York. I used to live in the area, but not anymore. So you're definitely right there, Hawkeye. I probably need to be better at understanding external or other perspectives. I'm blowing it here. I think we're getting to the end of the chat. Do you have any thoughts on the game that we haven't covered, Tyrese, or thoughts on the upcoming schedule?
Let me see the rest of the schedule real quick.
So we've got I can tell you, we've got the Nets on Wednesday, and then 2 games against the Bucks, I believe. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So a game at Brooklyn, and then 2 home games against the Bucks, and that's the next week, I believe.
Yeah. So the Knicks play 6 games left for the rest of the year. They're gonna go 4-2.
Who were the last 3 after the 2 Bucks games?
Thunder, Magic, Pacers.
Man, and how many of those are on the road?
All of them.
And so what you're saying is we have Brooklyn on the road, and then 2 home games against the Bucks, and then the Thunder, the Magic, and the Pacers on the road.
Yeah.
And you're predicting 4-2. You're so, man. I wish.
It's the Pacers and the Magic. I'm sorry. I think they might lose to the Thunder, but I think they can split with the Bucks. I think they beat the Nets, and I think they beat the Pacers and the Magic. And somehow, someway, I think they get to 4-2. I just think this team is. There's a run in them that they haven't had yet, and they're going to have it fairly soon.
Yeah. I mean, look, if they get to 19-13 after that schedule, I was, and I'm more pessimistic than most. I was like, just stay around 500. If they go 4-2 and they're 19-13 at the new year, whew, boy, you're gonna get some. First of all, you're gonna get confident Knicks Twitter, which is a scary sight to behold for many people. But yeah, I mean, you and I'll be.
My bookmarks are ready. Oh, my bookmarks are ready.
I gotta be honest. I've never once clicked the bookmark button. Don't believe in it.
You are bold.
Bold. It's just not my style. I don't think receipt culture is good. I'll argue this until I'm done and gone. I think people who see a take that somebody makes and are like, "Ooh, I'm gonna wait for 3 months and then dunk on them for this if it's wrong." It's like you're decentivizing people from learning and evolving and reacting to new additional information. And you're just basically saying you have to make a case for every single thing you believe and then plant your flag in it forever. And I think that's part of why our society is so fucked right now, is because that's how everybody treats every single topic about everything. Whereas if more people were just adaptable and were constantly evolving and open-minded and just adjusting to new information as it comes, I think we would be a lot closer and more aligned on most issues. Obviously, that's more macro than basketball, but zoom in and focus on the NBA. So many of these discussions are just total aids, and it's just 2 people talking past each other. And I think that's because most people are more interested with winning the discussion and being right than they are with trying to land on the truth.
You're right, but I need people to know when they're being stupid. You're completely right.
That's fair.
And that's how we.
I'm good at the one way I avoid all that is I mute most of the things that I post. I just sort of post my stuff and move on with my life.
If I'm wrong, you can call me, but I also won't care. So
you'll care. You'll care a little bit if Obi makes the 2026 All-Star game.
Oh my god.
Oh man. That I think that's gonna do it. Somehow there are still 17 of you with us, which is fucking bonkers. That's just, you guys are awesome, honestly. That's so crazy that, in a good way, in the best possible way, that it's 2:30 a.m. on the East Coast and y'all are just staying up with us, talk ball, and listen to us talk about the All-Star game. And it's not even, we don't even have the full show. I know that Schwinn is kind of the main character of the show. We all kind of acknowledge that. Everybody, most people are here that you like our content, but everybody wants that 5% chance that Schwinn's just going to lose his shit and start yelling at the screen. I think everybody is here for that. So the fact that you guys, still checked in, still supported us, honestly, we couldn't appreciate you more. Even if you spent the entire video like calling me names and getting mad at me that I apparently have not been 100% aboard the Julius Randle train for 4 seasons. We appreciate you hopping aboard and doing this with us, honestly. And we will see you Wednesday night after the Nets game at a much more reasonable time. Tyrese, it's been awesome doing this with you. And everybody have a good night.